If I have to move to Switzerland again in 2025, I think for me, let's say for Idris of, let's say, 16 years ago, 17 years ago, 18 years ago, if I have to make a decision of, let's say, trying to find myself somewhere else in some place, and especially now we have a lot of good things we can take advantage of, and one of those things is technology. And I think this is also like a really huge opportunity for many people, or for anyone for that matter, who want to live in, let's say, other parts of the world, or who are just trying to establish themselves in some kind of way in other places. That's a really good thing. Yes, it is. But now, to talk about it, like why it's a good thing and how to approach this, the first thing I would say is I have been to Switzerland before, and I've also lived there up to like 8 months or so, and also my experience there wasn't like the most brightest one. But one thing I think for sure I would have done differently is first the language. And I think the reason why I said the language is you cannot speak a language like perfectly, especially if you're not in that country. So only until you get to that country, then you can get to like use it like in your day-to-day life, and then you can fine-tune those, your language knowledge into, what can be more, let's say, speakable and more understandable to people and to things like that. But now, if I have to remove, let's say, the language, what I would have done differently is I wouldn't go to Zurich, because Zurich, there is a lot of things going on in Zurich, and also there is a lot of bad actors from different parts of the world. I'm not going to say one country is bad or one country is better, but there is a lot of bad actors in Zurich, and especially if you're a foreigner, you are in that circle, and they are going to look at you with the same kaleidoscope or telescope of these foreigner eye. And this is also one thing I just think, if I want to move, I won't move to the place where he's like overly populated, because I think the racism in Switzerland is stinky. In Zurich, in Basel, for example, in those two cities, the level of racism there is very high. Don't get me wrong, everything is not racism, everything is not discrimination, everything is not like the white people hate the black guys. No, everything is not like that, but there are numbers to it, and there are facts to it. If it happens to more than 10 people in one city, that is not just more of like a theory anymore, it's a fact. And this is, let's say, what I think I would have done differently. I won't go to Zurich. Of course, some people will say diplomat and blah blah blah, because the last couple of videos I've made about this topic, someone is saying, she's a profiler, she's a diplomat, she has never experienced what's it called, such behavior from the Swiss. They are nice, this person also only speak because she's a diplomat, and all she has is just a diplomatic experience, not just like a normal civilian like me. I am not a diplomat, I'm not using a diplomatic passport, so I came here as a normal human being, so it's not like I am trying to, none of that shit. But apart from also learning the language and not moving to those two cities I mentioned, what else I could have done differently? I think what I would have done differently also is the career path, because Switzerland, even though it's Europe, but they are not part of the Schengen states, so they are just like they are also not part of the EEA, which is European Economic Area. So the reason why this one is, let's say, kind of a little bit tricky is, for example, if you got a job in Switzerland, Swiss pays really high, but it's also expensive to live. there is also like a fact. It's like you get a donor in Switzerland is like a donor is like €8. To buy a plate of meal in many restaurants in Berlin is like €8 and €9, the same price. You can even get drinks with it in some restaurant in Berlin. So, and this is why I say this one is like different. And the reason why I would say getting a job in Switzerland, it's really good if you're living in, let's say, Ticino region, because Swiss is like in three, it's like three different countries. I'll put it this way: there is Italian part, and there is German part, and there is French part, because the Bern, the Genève, these are more of the French part. Bern also is also part of the French side. But when you're going to like Bellinzona, okay, this is like Ticino region, Chiasso, Lugano, all this area have, what's it called, Ticino region, which is the Italian side. And then when you're going to this side of, let's say, St. Gallen, Zurich, Basel, Schaffhausen, all those areas, Wil, Winterthur, all those areas are German area. So which means all of these places, it depends on if you are a person coming from, let's say, English speaking country, which place is the most ideal for you to, let's say, live and work. I would say is the German side, even though what's it called, it's like the most difficult for people with like a skin like this. But if you're someone who lives in, let's say, who is from a French speaking country, I would say that Genève, and also like Genève and Bern, all those area is more of for people who are from French speaking country, because you'll be easily able to put your feet on the ground. But if you're someone, let's say, you are not really from the French side or from the English side, I would say Italian side, which is like the Ticino region, I think I found it more peaceful. In general. But however, it's also worth to mention that if you live in Ticino region, there is a lot of chances like you also encounter some really hard time as well, especially also racism and things like that. I'm not saying that thing is not happening in the French side, because I have never lived in the French side that much. I just only went there like for visit, like for a few times and so on. So in overall, choosing a place to live in Switzerland can be very, very vital. It's a very important decision to make, because it's also going to help you to navigate your life in the right way. The second one is also like the type of job you're doing in Switzerland. Also, it's very important. If you move into Switzerland as an, let's say, international expert, for example, someone who work in IT, and you get some firm there that employs you, that is really, really good. I think it can be a really good way to come into the country. But also to go to study in Switzerland also too can be really good, especially when it comes to world of, let's say, economics or sport management. Switzerland is really known for this as well. And also engineering, let's say aerospace engineering and automotive engineering. These are, let's say, some of, but for you as a foreigner getting those jobs, you get it from more of like from expert perspective. But if you are someone who is just say you come to the country, you have to build your life from the ground. To get to that stage will take you some time, because you won't be able to speak like the language like a native, even though you can speak, even though you can communicate very well. It still always comes to that part of maybe this, maybe your language is not enough, dein Deutsch ist nicht genug, like your German isn't enough. So, and also the Germans they speak in Switzerland, it's also different from the German we speak in Germany, because the German sounds similar, but they are like different. With the one with the Switzerland one is more of like accent, but it's still considered, let's say, kind of of hook Dutch or something like that, because people from Germany can easily understand people from Switzerland, and people from Switzerland also can understand people from Germany. But in overall, so making a decision of where to live, what job you're going to get, and also what should be your goals. These 30 things, if I have to move to Switzerland again, this is things I'm going to think of. If it's also a place I want to really live for a very long time and some things like that, so this one is also definitely worth it to mention. So but overall, I think I'm going to drop the mic here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Ciao.